Hello, my name is Ghadeer Awwad, and I'm a PhD student at University of Michigan School of Information. I'm presenting a paper titled Digital Repression in Palestine, written with my co-author Kentaro Toyama. Palestinians experience a relatively rare situation in the world where they exist under dual layers of governance, one by the occupying Israeli government and another by Palestinian governance structures, namely the Palestinian Authority, the PA in the West Bank, and Hamas in the Gaza Strip. While Israeli repression is widely known and studied, there's very little scholarly investigation into the internal repression exercised by Palestinian authorities. Hamas attack on Israel on October 7, 2023, and the aftermath have spotlighted the tragic toll that the regional conflict can take on both Palestinian and Israeli civilians. The conflict underscores the importance of work seeking to understand repression in the region. Our research questions are: what goals and strategies do Palestinian activists have when engaging in online activism? How do Palestinian authorities respond to online activism? What can we learn from the above that informs scholarship on digital activism and repression overall? What unique insights does the Palestinian context bring to our understanding of digital repression? Some background first. In 1948, during the Arab Israeli War, Israel's occupied Palestine in an event known as the Nakba, or the catastrophe that led to the displacement of about 700,000 Palestinians. This and later conflict cemented Israeli control over the West Bank and Gaza Strip. The Oslo Accord, signed in 1993 between the Palestinian Authority and Israel, led to a limited self governance for the West Bank and Gaza Strip, but not full sovereignty. Later, Hamas emerged as a rival to the BA and became the de facto governing entity in Gaza. Though both groups were initially democratically elected, there have not been elections since 2006. Some observers suggest that the BA and Hamas suppress criticism and dissent about their governance, especially if it appears to support the rival faction. This suppression extends to the digital realm, as both the BA and Hamas have enacted laws that criminalize online criticism of the authorities. There's considerable literature about digital activism. Studies show that technology, especially social media, transforms activism by providing new platforms for expression and organizing. Activism faces many challenges, and most studies conclude that success in digital activism depends on various factors beyond technology. They suggest that successful activism requires a hybrid approach combining digital and traditional methods. Digital repression includes techniques such as online surveillance, hacking, and internet shutdowns, while digital repression tends to be more severe in authoritarian regimes such as in China or Saudi Arabia. It can also occur in democratic regimes. Though there is some debate about the relationship between digital and non digital repression, most scholars agree that digital repression is an extension of more traditional forms of repression and not a fundamentally different activity. In the Palestinian context, the literature mostly focuses on Israeli repression, but increasingly there is writing about internal repression of Palestinian residents. That literature demonstrates that through recent laws such as the cybercrime law of 2017, Palestinian authorities have effectively criminalized a broad class of online speech that is critical of their governance. For the methodology, we conducted semi-structured interviews with 19 Palestinian activists who had experience posting their opinions on social media. The participants were recruited through civil society organizations and snowball sampling, aiming for a diverse group from both the West Bank and Gaza Strip, across genders and various professional backgrounds. Significant steps were taken to protect participants' identities. Data analysis processed through iterative thematic analysis. Our paper notes numerous findings on both digital activism and repression in Palestine. Here I highlight findings about internal Palestinian digital repression. First, digital surveillance and collaboration with or Israel. Activists report that the Palestinian authorities have established a system for digital surveillance that seems to use a relatively low-tech, labor-intensive process operated by security personnel. However, sometimes they also use high-tech tools that are suspected to come from Israel or Iran. Some participants believe that the Palestinian authorities have formed internal organizations to surveil activists. B7 stated, I once asked a BA representative during a sit-in how I was being monitored. He told me that there is a large room at the police department to follow up on activists and security personnel dedicated to this task. Every employee has a device and their job is to follow a group of activists and monitor their online activities. These personnel sometimes seem to follow up with unsophisticated hacking. P16 gave an example. I once checked the settings of the Messenger app and found that a second email had been added to the account. Most participants shared multiple similar stories. Sometimes the system collaborates with telecommunication companies. P11 mentioned there's collaboration between the BA and some employees from telecommunications company. They gain access to call recordings. Also, a mobile company issued a SIM card in the name of my friend without their request to hack their Facebook account. Occasionally, the surveillance system is reported to use sophisticated technology from foreign sources. One participant suggested that when they were detained, security personnel installed a virus suspected to be provided by Iran to monitor phone activity. Several participants suggested that the BA uses the infamous Israeli Pegasus system to track them remotely. We could not verify such claims, but the essence of the claims are credible, if not the means. Participants would not otherwise have found unexpected apps on their phones, seen unknown secondary emails attached to their accounts, or had private communications read back to them by officials. Next, social media platforms, particularly Facebook, appear to coordinate with Palestinian Authority and Hamas in suppressing dissenting voices. Activists believe this happens in a particular way. For example, activists have frequently reported having their posts or accounts restricted or shut down on Facebook. B3 said, "You might think that Facebook has shut down the page, but it's Palestinian who is behind it. What we hear from Facebook is that the reason for the restriction and deletion is not from Facebook, but due to mass reporting. This participant Facebook censors posts based on the number of complaints, a claim made by several of our participants. This contradicts Facebook's explicitly posted policy, which says that content is taken down only if it violates Facebook's community standard. But our participants believe there is more than a neutral content moderation by Facebook. B1 explained a meeting was convened where activists, Meta representatives, and officials from the Ministry of Telecommunication came together. In this meeting, the ministry presented a report to Facebook advocating for the shutdown of activist pages, citing them as a threat to the social fabric and alleging that their content violates Facebook's policy. Three other people mentioned that they had also heard of similar meetings. Thus, several of our participants believe that Facebook takes cues from Palestinian authorities in deciding what content to suppress. Another common tactic is to impersonate the activist and to put incriminating words in their mouth. B12 described they created multiple fake accounts using my name to exploit my followers, especially while my account was shut down. People naturally search for me and end up following these fake accounts. They then engage in insults while posing as me, tarnishing my reputation. These threats eventually become actual penalties. One kind is to hinder the livelihoods of family members. B8 reported that their brother was denied a job. My brother applied for a job at the Ministry of Transportation and Communications. He passed the written exam and succeeded in the personal interview, but he failed the security check. He was informed that he was not eligible for the job because he is my brother. They punished my brother because of me. P16 noted that many of their friends were interrogated for associating with them. They were once having tea in a cafe with a friend when their friend phone rang. They mentioned, they called my friend and asked, why are you sitting with P16? Similar to what we found with Palestinian authorities, digital surveillance tactics, online harassment, and intimidation seem to occur through relatively low tech labor intensive means. Arguably, the ultimate tool of repression is detention and torture, and our participants experienced their share of these brutal tactics. B9 details one such case. I was arrested 10 times for my Facebook posts between 2011 until 2019, sometimes twice in a year. The following charges were leveled against me: one for inciting sectarianism, one for defaming high positions, one for collecting and receiving money from illegitimate sources, and one for affiliation with armed militias. Once detained, torture is uncommon. P10 said, I was beaten inside the detention. After 3 days of detention, I signed a pledge that I would not write about this personality on social media again. Then I was released, and I have since committed to this pledge. It is unclear why some activists are merely threatened while others are arrested and tortured. P16, however, offered a reason that suggests that the worst penalties are applied to political opponents. They mentioned, I have not been arrested, and I was personally informed that even if I used live video to insult the president, I would not be arrested because I have no history of activism. I have not affiliated with any political party, and therefore I don't work for any entity. I don't have a party agenda. Therefore, any arrest would only increase people's anger toward the authority, which would bother them. Despite enduring intense surveillance, harassment, and threats, the majority of activists remain steadfast and decide to continue their online activism. B17 said, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop writing no matter what happens. I have lost a lot. My life has been repeatedly threatened, and there have been ongoing attempts to smear me. It's impossible for me to stop. P3 said, there are actions taken by Palestinian Authority that push me and others to continue our online activism because we reject repression. I refuse to have my voice silenced by intimidation exerted on us through the exclusion of other activists. Though some of our participants had ceased their activism, many continued their activism even after harassment and arrest. Our findings led to several contributions. First, we have documented the perspectives of Palestinian activists on digital activism and repression by Palestinian authorities, offering a level of detail not seen in previous literature. Second, our findings confirm that both digital activism and repression are real phenomena in Palestine, mirroring global mirroring trends. Palestinian activists use social media for its accessibility and reach, while authorities engage in repression through digital means like surveillance and censorship. This repression often connects with physical forms of intimidation and violence. Third, the research uncovers unique aspects of digital repression in Palestine. Both the Palestinian Authority and Hamas, neither of which are sovereign states, have ongoing systemized processes for digital monitoring and repression. They often rely on labor intensive, low tech methods, but occasionally use high tech tools, possibly provided by external powers. The repression is more personalized and inconsistent compared to more systematic approaches like China's. Activists everywhere tend to show courage and resilience, but many Palestinian activists seemed able to continue their activism despite years of repeated repressive measures. That might be because of the limited powers of Palestinian authorities who are constrained by Israel and their non state status. Collaborations between Palestinian authorities and external entities, including Israel and Iran, are also notable. Such scholarships suggest that Palestinian authorities might be influenced by external powers. All of these points add further evidence to theories of technological reinforcement or amplification in politics, rather than theories that proclaim a transformational role for technology. In Palestine, as elsewhere, digital platforms amplify activist voices, but they also enhance the ability of repressive regimes to monitor and repress activists. The various entities, the PA, Hamas, Israel, Iran, Palestinian activists, use digital technology to further its own aims in directions consistent with their politics. Some entities appear to collaborate on points of political agreements, but they may also diverge where their goals differ. As reinforcement theory suggests, the ultimate impact remains difficult to predict because the underlying power dynamics are in flux. We can expect these patterns to apply to other contexts where people are repressed by multiple entities. In the paper, we offer recommendations for both Palestinian online activists and social media platforms that wish to support the freedom of expression. Our investigation into digital activism and repression in Palestine highlights the complexities of how offline political dynamics are mirrored and uniquely manifested online, especially in contexts with dual governance structures. As the world hopes for self governance of the Palestinian people, it's important to keep in mind that a truly democratic governance will take work, and that, as in other countries, social media platforms policies may play a critical role. Thank you.